我帅不帅？
帅，
你好美，
谢谢。
你是来自哪里的姑娘？
纽约的姑娘。
哇，你竟然是纽约的姑娘。Welcome to China.
Thank you.
All right. You are speaking Chinese very good. I can speak English a little.
Welcome back to Chasing Dramas. Today, my co-host Cathy and I are so excited to share with you our trip to QingMing shan河图, aka along the river during the QingMing festival. Or you could simply call it the Song Dynasty studio in Hengdian, where plenty of your favorite Chinese dramas and movies were filmed. Except it wasn't just a studio. Not in the least. While the Palace of Emperor Qin was more about surveying the massive grounds and seeing performances, here you get to interact with many actors and actresses on site, as they are NPCs or non-player characters. They come from not only the Song Dynasty, but from many other realms as well. Let's check it out. We have now crossed over from the Palace of Emperor Qin to this other side, which is the studio called QingMing shan河图, or in Chinese, or in English, sorry, it is called Along the River during the Qingming Festival. This studio set is set in the Song Dynasty, and right here is another sign of all of the various dramas that were filmed here. You have very famous ones of The Legend of Zhanghai, Mysterious Lotus Casebook. You have The Flourished Peony, Blossoms, Joy of Life, so many others. As we walked down the steps, we immediately noticed how different the environment was versus the earlier studio. There were colorful lanterns adorning the buildings, and along the many walls, there were beautifully painted sets in front of ornate buildings. And throngs of people gathered around various costumed individuals. It's interesting because you walk maybe 5 minutes through one gate to the other because the studios are connected, and you're immediately transported into a completely different world. Qingming shan河图, this era is set in the Song Dynasty, which is about 1,000 years ago. It is a very different vibe, as you can see, from the Emperor Qin's palace that we just walked by. Qingwanggong, or the palace of the Qin Emperor, was set in 200 or so BC, so 2,000 plus years ago, versus now, set in the Song Dynasty, we are about 1,000 years in the past. Here's your history lesson for the day. Along the river during the Qingming festival is actually a painting, one of the most famous paintings in China. Painted during the Northern Song Dynasty by Zhang Zeduan, this painting intricately depicts the flourishing city of Bianjing, the capital of the Northern Song Dynasty during the 12th century. The current painting sits in the Palace Museum in Beijing and is a national treasure. Therefore, whenever you hear about this painting in the future, or QingMing shan河图, or along the river during the Qingming festival, you're supposed to immediately connect this to the Song Dynasty.
So this is another area where tons and tons of dramas were filmed. We are gonna go and check out Fanlou, which was prominently featured in The Legend of Zhanghai last year. So if you take a look, we will take a video, but Fanlou is where Zhang Jingyi's character Tu Laoban, or Miss Tu, had her big, huge restaurant. So this already seemed very busy. I guess on the right-hand side you have buildings that you can film, but then on the left-hand side is a bunch of restaurants. I am currently deciding where I want to eat, but it looks like a pretty good selection. It seems like you can also rent these little cars here if you don't want to walk that much. I did see a bunch of videos recommending, if you're not a huge walker, to rent a couple of these cars. Karen and I are just going to tough it out, get our steps in. Oh look! Here you can go and engage with an NPC. Oh, look at that.
手接，我带你。我右为难。左右你干嘛工作？右开工啊。你要不要继续？再抓一点，再抓一点。这个是发挥。
So they were playing currently a game of, I think, charades. They were trying to guess idioms, and basically, if the participant was able to guess the idiom, or I think the audience is able to guess her idiom, the very handsome gentleman will give him or give her money that you can use across all of the studios. Oh look, there are others. Oh, there's a Qigong character.
哎呀，貌美如花，现在有钱花，来1、2、3，耶！
好，谢谢。
活跃活泼了。那个我帅不帅？
帅。
你好美，
谢谢。
你是来自哪里的姑娘？
纽约的姑娘。
哇，你竟然是纽约的姑娘。Welcome to China.
Thank you.
All right. You are Chinese very good. I can speak English a little.
已经很棒了 ，very very good.
I love you.
I love you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
爱的抱抱。
好的，拜拜。
拜拜。
好，谢谢。
We continued on to see other people participating in games with NPCs or non-player characters in order to earn 片酬 or a filming fee. As Cathy explained earlier, this is just fake money, but if you gather enough, you can exchange them for real-life gifts upon your exit of the studio.
Okay, so this guy over here is you're playing a game, guessing game. Oh yeah. Okay, so this is more for, you know, again, earning some money if you're able to beat the character with a hand game of just, you know, you pick one, they pick 5, each number, a high number beats the next, and if you can win, you get money.
There weren't only NPCs to interact with. At scheduled points throughout the day, there are parades featuring various types of characters. I am not entirely sure what's going on here for this parade, but I enjoyed myself nonetheless and was really impressed with those on stilts. As for this parade, I think this is a knockoff version of the Wizard of Oz. No idea why it's in this Song Dynasty set. And while food stalls were scarce in the earlier studio, there were plenty of options in this Song Dynasty one. But we opted to check out something a little more unique.
We found some local wines, so let's go try it out. 你好，我们可不可以试一下？
试一下。
你吃是哪种口味的？
葫芦里吗？是白桃，然后青梅、杨梅，这是30年的梅子酒，然后还有一个桂花和黑米。
哦，哪个可以试呢？
都可以的。
你要一个白桃的吧？ So we're gonna try some local rice wines. This is white peach.
These are plum wines.
Yeah, and these are plum wines. Okay, let's try it. This is a white peach one.
10度白桃米酒。
It's really good. 10 degrees, white peach. It's very good.
我来尝一尝。
We dragged ourselves away from the delicious wine to check out the rest of the studio and continue on our quest to find Fanlou. We are on one side off the main market square, and look at that. Those are posters for Zhang Linghe, particularly depicting him in his latest drama, Pursuit of Jade. but look how beautiful this set is. This set is certainly in or featured in plenty of dramas, but regardless of whether or not it's real or fake, it's just super cool to be here. I would say the takeaway for me and Cathy this trip is that these sets in Hengdian have developed so that it's now more like a Disney World type adventure or immersive experience where there are people who are dressed up in costume you can interact with. There are shows and 3D rides or 4D and 5D rides, which is really quite fun. Look how pretty! I'm just fangirling over here. I have been to several water towns around southern China where they have similar-ish vibes, but this is certainly the most, I guess, compact. You'll notice that there were plenty of people who were also dressed up in costume, but were not employees of the park. It was actually kind of hard to figure out who was an employee and who was just dressed up. What happens is you can pick whichever dynasty you want, and you are able to wear the clothes and get the hairstyle done that matches that time frame at various mini studios around the sets. It's quite a fun pastime and a flourishing industry, and you can take photos yourselves, or you can hire a professional photographer to follow you around and make sure that you pose to get the best photos. After struggling a while to figure out how to get to the other side of the lake for a better view, we finally made it to the iconic Fanlou. Right behind me is the set called Fanlou. Fanlou is an actual place during the Song Dynasty, and it was very famous. If you have watched the story of Minglan, they talk about Fanlou quite often, and it was also discussed quite a bit in, for example, A Dream of Splendor and also A Serenade of Peaceful Joy. This building itself is featured in many, many Chinese dramas, like A Dream of Splendor, like The Legend of Zhanghai, and so many others. It is absolutely stunning. I'm not really sure what's going on with all of these other sets or decorations in the background, but what a beautiful place to be. And even if it's not historically accurate, I love how gorgeous this place is. Here are some clips from dramas that feature this beautiful building. Here it is as Yong'an Lou in A Dream of Splendor or Menghua Lu. Here it is in season 1 of Joy of Life, where we meet Si Lili for the first time. And here it is in The Legend of Zhanghai or Zhanghai Chuan. This was definitely my favorite scene of all of the studios we went to. Conveniently, there is a prop or a frame here for you to take photos of this gorgeous scene. You can bet that Cathy and I took a million photos here during the day, and at night, sneak preview for our next episode. We thought we'd do a simple circle around the water, and that would be all there was to see in this studio. Nope, we totally misunderstood just how big this place was. We walked along the water for a bit and ended up at the city gates, only to realize we only saw half of the studio.
We are now at the city gates of Bianliang. It says Bianliangcheng, or that was the capital during the Song Dynasty, or during a period of the Song Dynasty. And as we saw during the story of Minglan, and as well as the Dream of Splendor, the Song Dynasty was a very, very prosperous time. The capital, Bianliang, was also one of the most prosperous cities in the whole entire world.
Once we got our bearings, we turned around and found ourselves facing the Song Dynasty market. Inside the market, there were plenty of shops selling all types of wares, from gifts to snacks to clothing, and many more NPCs to interact and play games with.
Oh, look, up top here, they have little lanterns for a bunch of the sets or the film productions that filmed here. And this right here is the story of Minglan. This right here is the legend of Shanghai. This gives a pretty good summarization of this entire street. This, as you see, is a riverside market commercial street. The Song Dynasty era that we're in, the most famous, the capital city, was called Bianjing. So that right here is a market that is set up to mimic or be reminiscent of what you would expect in Bianjing during that time.
We rounded out the Song Dynasty part of our tour with a visit to the performance of Qingzhao, the famous female poet and essayist from the Song Dynasty. The whole performance took about 20 minutes that goes through the key highlights of her life, with multiple actors on stage and rather impressive sets and special effects. Let's listen to Cathy give an overview of Qingzhao as well as this performance.
We saw a performance here which is called Hello Qingzhao. Qingzhao was a Song Dynasty poet and essayist, and perhaps one of the most famous female poets and essayists in Chinese history. Why do I say that? It's because we actually know her full name. In Chinese history, it's very rare to even know the full name of women. So the fact that Qingzhao's name has stood the test of time is a testament to the poems and essays that have lasted through the ages. For those of you who have watched our podcast episodes or listened to our podcast episodes, you will know that Qingzhao is the author of Ru Meng Ling, which is the poem that is the name of the story of Minglan, or 知否 应是绿肥红瘦. I really appreciated the show. I enjoyed it. It was a short performance about the life of Qingzhao, which most people probably don't know apart from her most famous poem here. This, if you do come, unfortunately there are no English translations. However, for me as a history buff, I did really appreciate this performance.
And that's it for this video episode. We are not done with our exploration of this Song Dynasty set because this place has many other mini worlds with even more NPCs to interact with. Check out our next video as we take you through those sets and interactions.